Okay, my friends, so today I am going to be teaching you session 9 over video, obviously, because I'm not sitting in front of you right now, but I will go ahead and get moving on this. I'm going to go ahead and model some skills for you today that I am going to expect you to go back and do inside of that Padlet as you begin to research the topic that you chose yesterday. So if you look today, session 9 is going to focus on building up a bit of background knowledge when you encounter a new topic. Now, some of you already have background knowledge that you've gained from reading your nonfiction novels. Depending on the topic that you chose, your new topic may go right along with that, but you may have chose something else too, and that's all right. So either way, we are going to still go through this process of building background knowledge. Those of you who paired your topic along with what you read for your nonfiction novel, you may have just a head start on this background knowledge, and this may be one of those times that you reference those notes that you took from that book that you read. But let's just pretend everybody is starting from scratch on their topic. So today we are going to be setting up background knowledge, okay? Teaching Point says, when readers begin researching a new topic, they draw on tried and true strategies to begin learning about a topic. So it says what you're doing. It says look for the most simple resources, like kids' websites. I'm not even joking, you guys. I want you to go out there and find the most elementary looking websites that you possibly can. You're going to read those and learn and gain that foundation of understanding before you even get started, because there is no way you can dig deeper and understand rich material unless you have kind of a basis of understanding to start with. So that's what we're going for today. When you start looking over your resources in the Padlet, I want you to look through and see if the resources seem too specific or super technical. That is what I want you to avoid. I want you to avoid the resources that seem too specific or super technical. I want you to look for those bold colors and cartoons, because that's going to indicate to you the things that are meant for younger kids. And the reason we're going for that, guys, is because that is super easy to understand, and it's going to be super straightforward when it teaches you just kind of the foundational information that goes with your topic. All right, from there, we're going to go down here. So if we look at this first one, you will notice that they are already calling this resource, because, okay, I guess I should preface that by saying the topic, and you know this from yesterday, remember, we're looking at GMOs, right? We're looking at genetically modified organisms. We started that work yesterday in session 8, and today I'm going to continue that as our modeling topic. So if you look here and look at this, we see that they're specifically talking about salmon, right? And it looks like when I'm looking around here, there's, number one, there's tons of text. There doesn't look like there's a bunch of pictures or anything. This picture here just has, pictures of the actual fish they're talking about. And it just looks super technical and very specific to salmon. If we're studying genetically modified organisms, the only genetically modified organism out there is not salmon. There are more than that. So we can't just focus in on one in particular. So we're going to skip this one. We're going to skip this website, and we are going to move on to another website that I found. This one, I have to look and see what it was called. Tiki the Penguin. Tiki the Penguin. Now, that sounds almost untrustworthy, doesn't it? Because it's like, what penguin is going to teach me this, right? But when we start looking at it, this Tiki the Penguin is actually a website that is built for children to teach them about GMOs. So when you start looking at it, it actually has some really good information, but it tells it to you more in a way that is more straightforward, maybe uses language that isn't as technical, and stays more kind of, not specific, more general about the topic. So let's go ahead. We're going to start reading this here, okay? And you're going to notice as I read that I was annotating as I read. After I annotate the 3 pages, we're going to go ahead and move forward into another notes page. So I'm doing kind of I'm doing annotation while I go, and then I'm just doing kind of like a summary notes page at the end. But you'll see all of that build forward. So I'm going to go ahead and read this aloud. It says, engineering is a fancy word for building something. So, genetic engineering, often just called GE, is building something with genes. Clever scientists have learned to spot which gene does what in making a new organism. They've found out that simple organisms like bacteria or viruses often have genes which are useful because they can be snipped out and put or spliced into plant genes. Doing this could give the plant special new abilities like resisting disease. But this can be rather like grabbing a large scorpion so it can't nip you with its claws. You know it's safe to handle since its claws can't reach you, but ow! It's got a sting in its tail and you didn't know about it. There may be a sting in the tail which comes from splicing strange genes into other organisms, from viruses to plants, for example. No one can be quite certain what will happen. It is unpredictable. So you'll notice I noticed a simile there. I kind of then interpreted the simile to add up to this idea that they were kind of using the scorpion simile just to tell you that it's an unpredictable thing with genetic engineering, and that we can't really know what's going to happen when you start mixing these genes together. Another thing that I picked on over here was, and you see that I noted it in the text there. Oh, it's not doing it. There, and there. I saw steps. The steps that they go through to genetically engineer something. So I went ahead and recorded those as well. On to page 2, we'll keep reading. It says, genes can do unexpected and unintended things, and nobody can ever be quite sure what. So it is wise to be very careful. So I noticed here that was kind of like a warning against GMOs, about modifying things genetically. So it seems like there are some cautions there we need to be aware of. So there might be a variety of opinions, that means. What can genetic engineering do? Genetically modified organisms, GMOs, which are mostly plants, are mostly transgenic, which means they contain genes pinched from something else like bacteria, viruses, other plants, or even animals. By snipping a gene which does something useful from one organism and splicing it into another, say a crop plant, scientists can get the plant to grow bigger or faster, or make more for people to eat. Or the plant could be made to be more nutritious with more protein or minerals or vitamins. Some crop plants can be made to grow in salty water or very little water, good for very dry countries. Others could be engineered to resist disease, which could protect kids against nasty illnesses like polio or measles. Here I kind of gave you this snip and splice part. I wanted to capture that. I underlined some important things. And then I just said this whole section here was just kind of like the benefits they were listing of why people would even want to modify things genetically. So I kept those little annotations there. Last page, it says Genetic Engineering, a Guide for Kids by Tiki the Penguin. Genetic engineering, GE for short, is about scientists altering the recipes for making life. The genes, which you find in all living things, I read that horribly. I apologize, guys. The genes, which you find in all living things. Doing this is very clever and seems to be very useful. Back in the 1990s, many Greens campaigned against genetic engineering and still do. They predicted disaster, but that hasn't happened. And then I questioned, warnings for nothing? Nobody has died from eating genetically modified food. They were also worried about the private GE company's ownership of the recipes, genes, for making these new life forms. So, is genetic engineering okay? And what about CRISPR. I don't know. What is it and why so important? My guide explains the basics, but it's up to you to make up your own mind on GE. So it does say that there's a debate going on there. Then there's this little cartoon down here. It says, what is genetic engineering? Well, quite simply, it's making something with genes. So, why do we do it? Does it help people? Well, scientists say they can make plants grow bigger or faster to make more for people to eat. Isn't that good then? Well, the trouble is that we don't know if it is good for people yet. It may harm them, and lots of people want to make money out of it. So, like I said, that was a good explanation, and it was done in a cartoon. So again, this is one of those really elementary resources that's making it easy for us to understand genetically modified organisms. Here is my notes page. You can see I kind of grouped some things together here, kind of just by what I was gathering from everything I read there. You'll notice that I did genetic engineering with genes, because I remember that's what they said on page 1, that the genetic means with genes, engineering means building something, so it's building something with genes. That's basically our definition. And then over here, I've got the steps, because we saw the steps being highlighted through there. I also had a couple of different notes here. I had genetic engineering is unpredictable because nobody knows how genes will always react. I have warnings against it even since 1990s. No evidence yet of there being problems, and 2 reasonable sides to an argument. I wanted to make sure that I knew there were 2 sides. That could, as I'm thinking about it right now, if I was going to write a paper about GMOs, I maybe could write about the pros and cons of GMOs, because it sounds like there are pretty valid arguments on either side. Just thinking ahead for boxes and bullets in the future. Always good to have that running through your mind. And then, of course, I put the benefits down here as well, because that was another thing that we read about in that Tiki the Penguin. So between this notes page, okay, and the annotated text, you can see I have collected an awful lot of information about genetically modified organisms just from this little kitty website here, okay? I am building background knowledge. I am understanding the definition of genetically modified organisms. I'm understanding the process, and I'm understanding why people might do it. I'm also understanding that there might be an argument about genetically modified organisms. So that's something I'm going to be on the lookout for as I continue to research. Down here, in workshop today, so you know that we did this on Tuesday, and we're doing this today on Thursday. So these are the 2 things we've done so far. It says, today in workshop, access the text set for your topic. This is going to be the Padlet that is linked in Schoology. Okay, I'm going to make that link just through Schoology so you can just go right on it. Then you're going to start orienting yourself to the topic. You're going to build that background information. I modeled this with Tiki up above. Okay, so don't forget, that's exactly what I was doing, was orienting myself to the topic and gathering background information. I would like you to try to do this with 2 to 3 different resources, and I want you to collect facts that tie to your overall topic. So if you chose, like mine is genetically modified organisms, so I want to go out and find 2 to 3 different resources that are giving me some pretty good general basic information, so that I can make sure that I'm not only building that background knowledge, but I am also making sure I'm checking out different resources, because like, what if one of those resources said something totally off the rails that didn't relate to anything else that the other resources were saying? I would probably decide to leave that resource out if it was totally contradicting everything else. So that's something you also want to be considering as you're going through here. As you're doing this work today, you are going to be going into that document that we created called TPNF Research Notes. That is where you are going to record stuff that looks like this. You're going to drop the resources that you're using into your notes. You're going to send those documents right over from the Padlet into your notes, and you can annotate straight on them. You could take notes at the end like that, using some of the strategies that we used in our past, what we just got done with our novels. After you've done that work and you guys have taken your notes on your 2 to 3 different resources, so this is what you're doing today, these 2 things are what you're doing today, and you're going to put them in your TPNF book notes, or TPNF research notes. I'm so sorry. So you're going to do that. After you are done doing that work, you're going to take a screenshot of the notes you've taken so that you can use that on today's slide for the research roadmap. And then you're going to go on to slide number 3 for session 9. I've given you a little bit, an example here. You'll notice that I've got the research steps you took and why you took them is in the green, and then the what you learned about your specific topic is in the blue down below that. And you see we've got a picture of our annotated text in there, as well as a cover of one of the articles that we had been reading with some of the information. So, guys, that's what you have to do today. Don't forget, you've got to go through all those steps. You just watched the lesson. Whoopsie. Watch lesson. Done. You just did that, okay? Your next move is to read and send to TPNF research notes 2 to 3 different easy resources. Okay, so that's what you're going to do next. And after you've done that, you're going to annotate, take notes. So that was 1. This is 2. And your third thing will be slide number 3 on your roadmap. Okay? So those are the things you're in charge of for today, friends. Make sure you work hard. Make sure you get it done. Also, remember, if you don't 100% understand this, talk to people. Talk to the guest teacher. Maybe meet with a peer quickly and see if you can clarify some things. Work together, you guys, to figure this stuff out until I get back. But also remember, I'll be back on Monday, and I'll be happy to help everybody once I am there. I appreciate you guys. I hope you behave for our guest teacher. Show whoever it is how wonderful you absolutely can be, and do good work so that I can celebrate with you when I get back on Monday. All right? Okay, guys, get after the work now. I love you. Goodbye. Mwah.